Hello students. In the previous class we have discussed about the different ways by which the microorganisms spread or they are transmitted from one uh, disease healthy or infected person to the I mean to the normal or healthy individual. So we have seen how different ways are there by which the disease spread. So we have seen by air, by water, through physical or sexual contact, and through vectors. Now, we have seen that microbes have how different ways to enter in our body. Now, today's topic we are going to study. The topic is organ specific and tissue specific manifestation. Okay, so what is manifestation here? Okay, manifestation means establishment of the disease. So, whenever a microorganism enters in our body, it is going to live in a particular organ or tissue where it is going to establish itself. It is going to live means it is going to establish itself and then cause the disease or causes problems in our body, and our body will behave abnormally then. So that is what is manifestation. Okay, so there are two things behind this. Okay, so manifestation of the disease depends upon two things. Okay, so manifestation of disease depends upon number one. Now it is not necessary that it is depending on that. In some microbes it depends upon number one, that is point of entry. Okay, point of entry means how that particular microbes enters in our body, and it remains, most likely it will remain there in that particular organ. For example, okay, now if how does this virus which is causing common cold, that is the rhinovirus, how is this virus enters in our body? Through air. Through air. So the virus entering through the air, and it goes into where? It goes into our respiratory system, and then causes the disease. Where? In which part of the body it causes the disease? In the same organ, in the respiratory system only. So our nose and throat and everything which is related with the respiratory system gets blocked. So here we are seeing that the virus is entering through the air in our nose and goes into the respiratory system, into the lungs, and cause the disease in that particular system. Okay, we can take another example of a disease, like um, for example we have typhoid. So typhoid, the bacteria which is causing typhoid, that is Salmonella typhi, enters through contaminated food and water. So it entering through food and water. Where is food and water goes? In the digestive system, means in stomach and small intestine, large intestine. So where is this virus causing the problem? In the stomach. We have loose motions, we have abdominal pain, cramps are there. Okay, then we have high grade fever is there. So where is this abdominal cramps are there? Abdominal cramp is there in the stomach, in the small intestine. So we have seen here with the help of two examples that if the microbe is entering through a particular organ, it is more likely to remain there and cause the disease in that particular organ. But it is not the case all the time. So for some pathogens, they enter through the same organ or part of the body and cause the disease in the same organ. But it is not the case with the other microbes. So what is the other point is that they are adapted. All the microbes are adapted to live in a particular part of our body. Okay. So all the microbes or the pathogens are adapted to live in a particular organ of our body. So all the pathogens, those pathogens which are causing disease in our body, they are adapted to live in a particular organ, or we can say tissue also, particular organ or tissue of our body. Okay, so however or through any part, wherever or however they enter in our body, they will always go to that particular organ and cause the disease. Okay, like for example, we talk about plasmodium. What is plasmodium doing? Plasmodium is a malarial parasite. Malarial parasite. It causes malaria. Now it enters through mosquito bite. Enters through mosquito bite. So mosquito can bite anywhere in our body. Mosquito can bite anywhere. It can bite on our forehead also, it can bite on our arms also, it can bite any part, it can bite on our toes also. Wherever is the exposed part is there, open part is there, wherever mosquito can find it easier, it can bite there and inject the plasmodium in our body. So the plasmodium, that is a malarial parasite, enters through mosquito bite, and then from the mosquito bite, wherever the mosquito is biting, the malarial parasite goes to, I am writing plasmodium, goes to the liver and multiplies there. So wherever it bites, always remember that it is going to the blood, and through the blood it is going to the liver, and from the liver this plasmodium then goes to the red blood cells. It lives inside the red blood cells and then multiplies there also. So you see, however the microbe is entering in our body, the microbe is going only to the liver. The plasmodium only going to the liver. It does not go to any other organ. It does not go to any other tissue. So wherever the mosquito will bite, it will always go to that particular organ. Why? Because it has adapted to live in that particular organ, however or wherever it may enter in our body. So these are 2 points. So the manifestation of the disease depends upon number 1, the entry of the microbes. How are they entering? Point of entry, where from where they are entering. So it is working only for some microbes, but then all the microbes are adapted to live in our body, and wherever they are adapted to live, they will go to that particular organ. Like for example, we talk about polar bears, where they are adapted to live in the polar regions, so they can easily live in the polar regions. Yes or no? So if you leave a polar bear and you give him a choice, you go anywhere in the world, every time the polar bear will go to the polar regions. Why? Because they are adapted to live. Like that plasmodium or any other microbe, we talk about any other microbe, wherever they are adapted to live, they will go into that particular organ of our body. Let us see what is given here in the NCERT. The disease causing microbes enter the body through the different means. Where do they go then? The body is very large and when compared to the microbes. So there are many possible chances, organs or tissues where they could go. So do all microbes go to the same tissue or organ, or do they go to the different ones? So very good question is there. So different species, now underline from here, this is a very important point. Different species of microbes seems to have evolved to home in or different parts of the body. What does this mean? It means that different microorganisms, different pathogens have evolved to live or have adapted to live in different parts of our body. In part, this selection is connected to the point of entry. So already we have discussed how it is connected to the point of entry. So if they enter through from the air via the nose, they are likely go to the lungs. We have seen already in the case of rhinovirus, or another example is giving tuberculosis. If they enter through the mouth, they can go into the gut lining, that we have seen typhoid caused by bacteria, or they can go to the liver like viruses that cause jaundice, Okay, so means how they are entering through the same system, and they are going into that particular system and causing the disease there. But this is not the case always. An infection like HIV that comes into the body via sexual organs. We have seen last time that how AIDS virus can spread. So will spread to the lymph nodes all over the body. Okay, malaria causing microbes entering through a mosquito bite will go to the liver and then to the red blood cells. The virus causing Japanese encephalitis also enter through the mosquito bite, will go to the brain and cause the problem there. Will simply enter through a mosquito bite. So mosquito is biting on the, is mosquito biting inside the brain? No. Mosquito is biting on the skin, anywhere in the skin, but that virus will go to the brain and cause the problems there. So but it goes on to infect the brain. So what does this mean? It means that the microbes will always go to that particular organ or tissue where they are adapted to live. So the signs and symptoms of a disease will depend upon what? It depends upon tissue or organ which the microbe is targeting. Where the microbe is going, suppose a microbe is going in your stomach and living there, you will have stomach ache. You may have loose motions. You may have cramps in your stomach. You may have a lot of twisting and turning in your stomach that you cannot, that you feel in the form of the cramps. Pain in the stomach will be there, or maybe blood loss can be there, means the stools can be in the form of the blood will be there in the stools. Okay, so if the, if your brain is the target, suppose the microbe is going into the brain, then what the symptom will be? The symptom uh, will be headache. Okay, then vomiting will be there, then fits can be there. Okay, if the target organ of the microbe is lungs, so we cannot breathe. Okay, then breathlessness will be there, coughing and cold will be there. Okay, so the signs and symptoms, it means that the signs and symptoms depends upon the organ or tissue where the microbe is living, or the organ and tissue the microbe is actually targeting. So if the lungs are the targets, then symptom will be cough and breathlessness. Liver is the target, there will be jaundice, means the body will become yellow in color. If the brain is the target, we will have headaches, vomiting, fits, or unconsciousness. So we can imagine what the symptoms and signs of an infection will be if we know what the target tissue or organ is and the functions that are carried out by this tissue or organ. So easily we can find out, suppose you are having any problem in your stomach, it means the target organ is the stomach. Okay, so it means it is more likely that you have eaten something, or you may have overeaten, or maybe some other problem is there. Okay, now let us talk about the next thing. So in addition these tissue specific effects, so these effects are tissue specific. Like suppose if the microbe is living inside your stomach, like typhoid is there. Okay, the microbe is there in your intestine, living in your intestine, so causing loose motions in the intestine. So in loose motion is a tissue specific effect. Okay, but you have fever also. Now fever is not tissue specific. Fever, you don't say I have fever in my stomach, I have fever in my small intestine. You say I have fever. Why? Because fever is observed all over the body. Fever is not a tissue specific effect. Fever is a general effect. So there are basically two types of effect when a microbe is, or when the microbe is going in our body and then living in our body and cause the disease. So when the microbe causes the disease, let me write here, when the microbe cause the disease. Okay, so there are two types of effects, or we can say signs and symptoms. One is called as effects on tissue, here tissue specific effects you can see here. Okay, so that is what I am writing, tissue specific effects. They are also called as local effects. Local means they are limited to that particular organ. Like if you have a stomach ache, if you have headache, means it is limited to your head. Your body is not having any problem. Only head is having problem. If your stomach is having a problem, stomach ache is there, then only your stomach is having a problem, not any other part of the body. So that is a local effect. Local means uh, it is limited to that particular organ. Okay, and then there are some general effects. General effects. General effects are those which can be which can be observed throughout the body. Example, fever. So fever is a general effect. It is not a local effect. We don't say my this organ is having fever. Fever is observed all over the body. Now let us try to understand the example of a mosquito bite. The general effects and the local effects, let us try to understand with the help of the mosquito bite. Suppose a mosquito is biting on your skin. Mosquito is biting on the skin. So how do you know that mosquito has bitten on somebody's skin? Okay, so if you have an experience, I hope you all have an experience of mosquito bites. Okay, so if the mosquito is biting on your skin, what will happen? Where as soon as the mosquito is biting, we will have itching. Then if you look at that place where the mosquito has bitten, you will see some redness will be there, some swelling will be there, some if you touch that portion of your skin, it will be little warm will be there. So what are these? These are local effects or these are general effects. If the mosquito is biting, you have itching only in that part of the body where the mosquito is biting. You have redness only in that part of the body where the mosquito is biting. You have swelling only in that part of the skin where the mosquito is biting. That part will become little warm. So what are these? These all are local effects or tissue specific effects. Okay. Okay, so these are all local effects or tissue specific effects. But if that mosquito bite has got plasmodium, then we may have fever also. The fever is a tissue specific effect? No, it is a general effect. Okay, so it is observed all throughout the body. Okay, now let us try to understand one more thing. So whenever the mosquito is biting, so whenever mosquito bites, it injects saliva into our body. It injects saliva. So mosquito is injecting his saliva into our body. Mosquito injects saliva into our body. Now if I ask you a question, is this saliva part of our body? It is a part of the mosquito or it is a part of human body? So your answer is that the mosquito saliva is a part of mosquito body. Mosquito saliva is not the part of human body. So our body will recognize that some alien object has entered, some foreign material has entered in our body. So saliva is a foreign object in our body, foreign object in our body. So will our body accept it? The answer is no. The body cannot accept anything which is not belonging to our body. So it will the body, the human body let me write it completely. The human body will try to not will not accept it. The human body will not accept it and send the and send the white blood cells, or send the immune our immune system will become active. Alarm will be there inside the body, and that alarm will send the message to everyone. Those soldiers or fighting cells of our body will come there, and they will try to kill the mosquito saliva. So the human body will not accept it and try to remove the saliva from the body. So it will try to kill it. So when it is trying to kill it, what is it doing? It is sending or recruiting the cells, recruiting the white blood cells or immunity cells to the place of mosquito bite. So this recruitment of the white blood cells or the immunity cells, which is killing the which will kill the saliva, is called as, this process is called as inflammation. And because of this, certain chemicals are also released, and this chemicals causes itching also. So you may have itching, redness, swelling, all because of this inflammation process. Let us see what is given here in the book. So most of these common effects uh, depends on the fact that the body's immune system is activated in response to infection. So an active immune system recruits many cells to the affected tissue to kill the disease causing microbe. This recruitment process is called as inflammation. So whenever any microbe or anything which is entering in our body, which is not a part of our body, so body will recruit the immunity cells, white blood cells, to so that the microbe can be killed, and that recruitment process called as inflammation. I hope you have understood this. As a part of this process, there are local effects such as swelling and pain, and there are some general effects such as fever. So I have told you already, there are, whenever we have a disease, there are always two types of effects: tissue specific or local effects, and the second one is general effects. Okay, so let us continue with this. Now here we are talking here about that how the HIV, let us try to understand how does the HIV causes problems in our body. Okay, now already I have told you HIV is causing a disease in our body called as acquired immunodeficiency syndrome, or we call it as AIDS. So what is the HIV doing in our body? HIV is simply um, removing or simply destroying the immunity of our body. So once our immunity is lost, any disease causing microbe which can easily cause the disease in our body, and when our body immunity is strong, suppose now we do not have AIDS, our immunity is strong, we can easily fight with the many disease causing microbes, and we can get rid of the diseases even before the disease are there or the symptoms appear in our body immunity is killing off those microbes, destroying them from our body. So the question is, what happens when the AIDS virus or HIV virus goes in our body? It destroys our immune system. So once our immune system is destroyed, any small disease causing microbe can cause a big disease and can kill us. Okay, so that is why HIV is very dangerous, because it is destroying our immunity, and because of the destruction of the immunity, we do not have any immunity. Any disease causing microbe, means common cold. Can you imagine person can be killed by common cold? The answer is no. We cannot think that if you have a common cold, and if I say okay, common cold can kill you, no, common cold will never kill anyone. Why? Because we can get rid of the common cold within 7 8 days on our own. Okay, but that if we have a AIDS, our immunity is gone. No immunity is there. Nobody is there in our body to fight with that common cold virus. So that common cold will become pneumonia, and then we will die of pneumonia. So that is the problem of the HIV. I hope now you have understood why HIV is dangerous. So in some cases, the tissue specificity of the infection leads to very general seeming effects. For examples, let us try to understand. In HIV infection, the virus goes to the immune system and damages its function, means it destroys our immunity. Thus, many of the effects of HIV/AIDS are because the body can no longer fight off the many minor infections that we face every day. So when our body immunity is lost, we cannot fight with many minor disease causing microbes. Instead, every common cold can become pneumonia, means we will die of pneumonia then. Similarly, a minor infection, gut means intestine, minor gut infection can produce a major diarrhea with blood loss. Ultimately, it is these other infections that kill people suffering from HIV/AIDS. So now you can understand that HIV is not killing us, it is simply destroying our immunity. Suppose if I am going to fight with a country and country has no defense, then any country of the world can fight with that and can win that country, capture that country, because that country has no defense. Okay, so our body like that, our immunity is a defense system of our body. So if our immunity is lost, our defense is also lost, and any minor infection causing microbe can kill us. Okay, now the question is, can we make antibiotics against viruses? The answer is no. Why? Because viruses, I told you, viruses are living or non-living. Viruses are non-living and they go in our body. I have told you in the previous classes also, viruses go into the body of the host and uses the biochemical pathways of the host. Suppose a virus is going in our body, a virus has attacked in my body and it is living in my body. So virus will use my biochemical pathways, the biochemical pathways of my cells, to create more viruses. So if I take a medicine, it means that I am destroying my own biochemical pathways. I am blocking my own biochemical pathways. So if I block my biochemical pathways, then the normal cells which are not affected, they will also be affected by that medicine. So it is very difficult to make virus antiviral drugs, because viruses have very few biochemical pathways of their own. They mostly use the biochemical pathways of the host. That is why it is nowadays becoming difficult to make medicine against coronavirus, medicines against HIV virus, medicines against many kinds of viruses, because viruses have very few biochemical methods of their own. They uses the biochemical methods of the host organism or the target organism. So let us see what is given here. It is also important to remember that the severity of the disease depends upon the number of microbes in the body. Okay, so the severity of the disease depends upon the number of microbes. Okay, I was telling you about the antiviral drugs. It is given here in this paragraph. Okay, so here what is written: one reason why making antiviral medicines is harder than making antibacterial medicines is that viruses have very few biochemical mechanisms of their own. They enter our cells and use our machinery for their life process. So if we make a medicine, so our own biochemical processes will be blocked. So this means there are relatively very few virus specific targets, very few virus specific biochemical mechanisms are there. So despite this limitation, there are now effective antiviral drugs. For example, drugs that can keep HIV under control, but that is also not working that much. We are making new medicines, new antiviral drugs, new medicines for against the viruses, but they are not that much effective. Okay, now we will see one more thing here in the last paragraph, then we will finish here. So, one more thing is very important for the disease manifestation. Suppose you want to win over a country, okay, and that country has 10,000 soldiers, and you have 1 lakh soldiers. So, who will win? Those who have 1 lakh soldiers. So, if the microbes in our body are more in number, they will cause the disease. But if the number of microbes is very less, will they able to cause the disease? The answer is no. Why? Because our body cells can easily kill them. Their number is less. Okay, so that is what is given here. So the manifestation of the disease depends upon the number of microbes in the body. If the number of microbes is very small, the disease manifestation may be minor or unnoticed. No disease can be there. But if the number is of some microbe is large means larger than our immunity, the disease can be severe enough to be life threatening. Okay, so the number of microbes surviving in our body decides whether our immunity is working or not. So the immune system is a major factor that determines the number of microbes surviving in the body. So if our immunity is working, it means it is killing the microbe regularly. So the number of microbes, if you are healthy and well, you are physically fit, it means that your immunity is working and it is killing the microbes every time, every second. If you put your, if you put electron microscope in your eyes, then you will see how many microbes are there around us, how many microbes we are inhaling, how many microbes we are drinking. Then also we are not having any disease. Why? Because of the active immune system. Our immune system is working and keeping the number of microorganisms under control. So if the number of microorganisms are under control, we will not have any disease. But if sometimes the microbe number increases, and they then cause the disease in our body. So in the next class we are going to see how can we treat the disease, that is principles of treatment. Make notes and study well. Thank you, students.